The Korean War never ended. Not really. That war your father or grandfather fought in, technically it's still going on, right now, 70 plus years later. July 27, 1953. After 3 years of brutal combat, negotiators signed an armistice agreement at Panmunjom. The guns went silent. Soldiers stopped shooting. Everyone went home and called it the end of the war. But here's the thing, an armistice isn't a peace treaty, it's a ceasefire. A pause. The fighting stops, but the war doesn't officially end, and no peace treaty was ever signed. Think about that. World War II ended with formal surrenders and peace treaties. Vietnam ended when Saigon fell. But Korea, we just stopped shooting and walked away. The war is technically still happening. We've just been on a really long timeout. Why didn't they sign a peace treaty? Politics. The armistice was signed by 3 parties: the United Nations Command, North Korea, and China. South Korea refused to sign because President Syngman Rhee wanted to keep fighting until Korea was unified. He never got his wish, and he never signed. So legally, North and South Korea are still at war. The United States, which led the UN forces, is still technically in a state of conflict with North Korea. There's no peace, just an agreement not to shoot. And that agreement, it's held together by one of the most bizarre borders on Earth, the Demilitarized Zone, the DMZ, 4 kilometers wide, 250 kilometers long, cutting the Korean peninsula in half. They call it demilitarized, but that's a joke. It's the most heavily militarized border in the world. Millions of landmines, tank traps, guard towers every few hundred yards. On the North Korean side, over 1 million soldiers. On the South Korean side, over 500,000 plus 28,000 Americans, all staring at each other for 70 years. Every few years, something happens that reminds us this isn't really peace. North Korea shells a South Korean island. A soldier defects across the border under gunfire. Tunnels are discovered dug under the DMZ. The armistice holds, but barely. It's been violated hundreds of times by both sides. There have been attempts to formally end the war, summits between North and South, declarations of intent, handshakes for the cameras, but a real peace treaty never signed. The legal state of war continues. American troops have been stationed in South Korea continuously since 1950, not as peacekeepers, as war fighters on pause, ready to resume combat if the armistice collapses. Your tax dollars have funded a 70-year standoff because nobody ever signed the paperwork to end the war. So when someone asks about the Korean War, remember, it's not history, it's current events. The men who fought there didn't end a war, they paused one, and that pause could end tomorrow. 36,000 Americans died in Korea, over 1 million Koreans north and south, hundreds of thousands of Chinese. All that sacrifice, all that blood, and we couldn't even agree on how to officially stop fighting. The Korean War started June 25, 1950, paused July 27, 1953, ended, still waiting. That's the war that never ended, and 70 years later, we're still watching the clock.